And welcome back. Now, videos of the Westville prison in Durban surfaced on social media this week showing inmates engaging in illegal activity. Now, the Department of Justice and Correctional Services are looking into the state of correctional services nationally. But the visuals show prisoners in possession of cell phones, of guns, snorting what looks like cocaine and fighting each other in front of warders. Let's take a look at this. Now, the department has since investigated the matter, and a report has been handed over to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services on Friday. Spokesperson Chrispin Phiri joins us now to tell us more about what's going on. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Sakina.
So naturally, people talking about what we saw on that video clip, but this is by no means new. But, you know, let us just restrain ourselves and confine it to this particular video for the moment. So a report has been compiled. Tell us exactly what happened there. Who are these people and how did it come to a point where they are able to do what they are doing as we see them doing on that video?
Yeah, so quite correctly, a report has been given to the minister, and one of the things that he's stressed is that we cannot have a situation where our correctional facilities are a hive of lawlessness, and that's what we're seeing there, complete lawlessness, and something that we're going to address. The report that we're sitting with currently is a preliminary report. We will be receiving a full report by the end of this week, or shortly, imminently rather, and the minister will be making a few imminent announcements, profound announcements to address the situation. Like you highlighted, it is not an isolated incident. This happens in other facilities, maybe not on the scale that we've seen in this videos, but other incidents as well that are concerning. So it's a situation that we need to arrest, excuse the pun, quite urgently as a department.
So from what we see in the video, it's obvious people are clearly identifiable. So what has happened to those involved?
The inmates that have been identified in the video have been moved to a maximum facility, Ebongweni, in Kokstad. So in correctional services language, we call it they've been downgraded. That was a medium facility in Durban, Westville. So now they are in a maximum facility, which means there's stronger security, and we are attending to the behavioral patterns that we've seen there clearly. The rehabilitation processes that we're undertaking with them in the current facility, in the Durban Westville facility, was not effective enough. And so that needs to be upgraded. And that's actually one of the major things that Minister Lamula has stressed, is that the rehabilitation processes that we see in our facilities needs to be given urgent attention. You cannot have a situation where inmates go into a facility and come out completely the same. You have to come out...
Or worse.
Or worse. You have to come out completely different. You have to come out equipped to make a difference in society. And that's one of the things that we'll be focusing on quite strongly in the next couple of years as a department, to ensure that the rehabilitational process really yields the results that society requires.
Again, this is by no means a new issue. It's by no means a new problem. So what sort of assessments have been done about the current rehabilitation programs in prisons and their efficacy?
The first is that the facilities that we have currently are designed perhaps in a flawed manner. They're designed to warehouse our inmates. So literally, inmates are just stored there. What we need is new facilities, and we now have a couple of facilities that will come online in Tzaneen, Standerton and Escort. These are called new generational facilities that actually enhance the rehabilitation of inmates. So inmates are not just stored as sardines, for argument's sake, in a cell, but they're stored in a way that they're able to actually interact in a better manner with the rehabilitation process. But also the cells themselves are structured in a way that ensures that they are challenged to think about their surroundings a lot more differently, and they're actually psychologically channeled in a different manner.
So give us a sense of how those new cells would differ from the ones that currently exist.
So firstly, they address the issue of overcrowding. One of the things that you would know is that our cells are relatively overcrowded, although overcrowding is a global problem. South Africa is sitting at about 37% of overcrowding overall. The global norm is about 34%, so we're just above that. So
but you see, that's no excuse. I don't think we should benchmark ourselves against worst practice.
Absolutely
The fact of the matter is, your aim should be to not have overcrowding, because we know of the attendant problems of overcrowding in our prisons.
That's true. But the reality is that it is a global problem, so it's not unique to South Africa. And I think that's something that we must always put into perspective. So
doesn't make it right.
It doesn't at all.
It's not the right benchmark.
It's not at all, but it is a reality. Also, given the fact that we have fiscal constraints, so ideally you don't want to be building prisons as a society. So you have to make good with what you have. And one of those is to upgrade the facilities to ensure that they look remarkably different, but they also address the issue of overcrowding. So we hope that in the next couple of years, we will be able to add about 118,000 bed capacity at the facilities that we have right now to ensure that we address this issue of overcrowding, which you have correctly said has its own unintended consequences.
So, Mr. Phiri, listening to you, would it then suggest that the part that states correctional services in the department's name is a bit of a misnomer at this stage?
It's not a misnomer. I think the correctional services, there are some that are doing really well. For instance, just the other day we were at the Brandflay correctional facilities. And if you look at the rehabilitational programs, they are quite amazing. We have a broadcasting academy which trains juvenile prisoners to be able to get a skill that when they come out of that facility, they'll be able to have media training, they'll be able to man equipment in the broadcasting sector. But we're also saying we need to do more with what we have currently. So ensure that people who come into those correctional facilities, if you are young, there's no reason why you should leave a correctional facility without being educated, without having a matric. There are facilities to ensure that with UNISA you're able to study, get a degree or a diploma. We have collaborations with a couple of CETAs as well to ensure that people who come out of correctional facilities do not come out as they were, but they come out completely different with skills, if possible with entrepreneurial skills, because we also know that our unemployment rate is significantly high. So you don't want someone coming in who already has a misnomer of being has a misnomer of having a criminal record, comes into society and now has to start looking for a job. They should be having the skills to actually create their own jobs. So the correctional services is definitely not a misnomer. It's something that we're going to ensure that we correct and rehabilitate offenders, because some of the situations which they find themselves in are as a result of the design of our society, not necessarily because those are things that they want on themselves.
Just a final one. You said the prisoners were downgraded from that incident in the video. What happened to the warders? Because it would seem as though they were complicit in what's going on there.
So that's the first thing that the minister stresses, that correctional facilities officials must uphold the law in its highest regard. We cannot have correctional facilities officials being seen to condone lawlessness. And in that regard, the preliminary report has identified a couple of correctional facility officials who may have facilitated what we have seen in those videos, and they will face the full consequences of the law. That will be part of what the minister takes the public into confidence with in a couple of days' time.
Well, that's where we're going to have to leave it. Thank you so much to Chrispin Phiri, spokesperson from the Department of Correctional Services. They're talking to us about that video that's gone viral from the Westville prison and also the consequences. The prisoners being downgraded. Minister's going to make an announcement imminently, so we'll wait for that. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at some other stories, and of course also we'll try and go to the Gauteng legislature to see what's happening there.